Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Rebuilding Fulham, episode 17. Right, at the end of the last episode, we were struggling. We had drawn 3 successive games, not all winning the league admittedly, but we did have an unnecessary replay against QPR, and as I said in the last episode, I was planning to put out a youth side, which is well, not a youth side, but a weakened side, which is exactly what I did. Now, before I talk about that, you notice that we're in the middle of March. That's because we are doing this episode just after the youth intake day has happened. So we will be talking about our youth intake for the year and looking at a potential new signing. So lots of stuff coming up. Try to keep this relatively below the 20-minute mark, just because, attention span and all that. I wouldn't want to watch it either. But QPR is the first game of the episode. It is an FA Cup 4th round replay. I decided, well, you'll see the team I put out, and you'll be able to tell that we were not taking this one particularly seriously. The reason I wasn't taking it all that seriously is because I felt that our big chance to beat QPR was the first leg, the first game at home. We had them at home, we put out a full-strength side and got screwed 1-1. However, that meant that if we did go through, we'd end up playing Arsenal in the next round away from home, and I wasn't sure if our confidence needed that. As much as getting through there would be slightly improved in terms of what the board thought of me, I wasn't too keen on ruining the players' confidence by getting battered by Arsenal in the next round in an unnecessary fixture that could disrupt any kind of momentum that we might have had in the league. So I was determined to not do that, which is why I put out a side of Ronau. Still don't know if that's how his name is pronounced. If you know how to pronounce that, please let me know so I can do it correctly, because I don't like getting people's names wrong. Trippier, of course, Casasola, I guess. James Hall. Now this lad, he is 16 years old. I'm fairly certain he's 16 years old. Yeah, he is a youth academy product. I think he's actually come from our youth academy this year, or he was part of last year's intake. But it doesn't seem that likely that he is when you look at his potential. We will come back to that in a minute. He may well have been a player that, of course he can't have come from our youth academy. This was in bloody February. Right, so he must have been from our last year's youth intake. Started this game at centre-back for his first ever appearance. And he actually scored a goal as well on his debut at 16. So that's great for him, and maybe that bodes well for the future. Yulsgaard did play because we've got no one else that can play in that role, basically. We don't have another left-back, and I really should look into that in the summer. That's one of the areas, because Yulsgaard gets knackered, and he is a bit of a liability when it comes to late challenges. It's a bit of like if Paul Scholes played at left-back, he can't tackle for shit. He's got a lot of yellow cards, and that is quite a flaw when you're a left-back. Tunnicliffe played in the midfield with Lucci, Rodrigo, Draga, and Kaci Niklic. And also Berisha. And coming off the bench, we had Parker and James Keatings, but it was still a relatively weakened side. However, despite that, we managed to win the game. 2-0, Rodrigo and James Hall. Brilliant. I'm not going to show highlights of all the games in this episode because there's quite a few, and there's quite a few goals too, and I don't want this to be too long. Moving back into the league though, we did have the inevitable away game at Manchester City, and I kind of felt that eventually we were going to get a battering. This was the battering. We were actually only 1-0 down until the 35-minute mark. When Sami and Nasri made it 2-0, I thought, oh dear. But, as against Spurs, we didn't look like we were going to get anything from the Spurs game, and we didn't. But we also kept it at 2-0. Unfortunately, James Milner's goal directly before half-time made it 3-0, and that's when I started to worry. My worries were slightly assuaded just after the second half, when Mitroglou popped up with a goal, which was good to see. If nothing else, that is the one positive from this game, is Kostas Mitroglou playing well. Efe Ambrose also came back from the African Cup of Nations and played, which is good too. So a couple of positives in amongst a sea of woe, as Negredo put them 4-1 up on the hour mark with a great chip from long range. And then David Alaba, 5-1. Very, very poor. We did have a couple of chances later on to get a couple of goals back, which was strange. I think they just took their foot off the gas in the end. Wasn't enough for us to get back into it properly though. Then we had West Ham, and this one I am going to show the highlights of because it frustrated the crap out of me. I'm just going to cut to the highlights, that way you don't have to see the loading screen, okay? Right, here we are in the highlights. This was a very frustrating game. If ever I've seen one, this is probably one of the most frustrating games of the season because we started off really, really well. And remember, we won 3-0 at Upton Park earlier in this same season. So I figured our tactic, in theory, they were probably going to play even more defensive away from home. But maybe that's what actually allowed this game to play out like this, where they didn't come at us and let us get in behind them. They just played it around quite nicely, and we had all the chances up until this point. But then ball played in, and Andy Carroll with it gets a toe on it, and there's nothing Stekelenburg can do about that in the end, which is a massive shame. However, things got much worse just a few seconds after that, when from a throw-in, we're still only 16 minutes into this game. Noble, don't know why no one tackled him. Malfitano out on the wing again. He's playing well for them this year. Ball across the box, and I don't know what happened there. Stekelenburg just seemed to pass it into the path of Andy Carroll, who dispatches it for 2-0. Now, being 2-0 down after 16 minutes here, I was furious because of how badly that we played. Straight after half-time, though, we got ourselves back in the game with a Thomas Drager penalty. Now, he hasn't scored for a while, so it was good to see him get on the score sheet. We then, not that long after, less than 25 minutes, with 25 minutes to go, Julesgaard down the wing here, does his best, manages to drop it inside for Kacaniklic, who just picks out Thomas Drager, who once again steps up with a brace. The amount of braces this guy has scored for Fulham over the last 2 seasons has been incredible. It just seems that when he scores one, he gets a taste for another. And then, very, very quickly after that, almost too quickly for my blood, that was the problem, if anything. We got ourselves in front too quickly in this game. And it was actually to our detriment. Amalfitano, again, playing well on that wing, but his cross was cut out. It comes back to Amalfitano, and it's headed wonderfully away by Dan Burn. And it's then Fulham on the break, doing what they do well. Mitroglou wins it here, slips it over the top for Martin Odegaard. What a great touch, and then what a finish. At this point, I'm going mental because it's 3-2, and we've turned the game completely on its head. Unfortunately, we turned it on its head a little bit too early, and I wasn't sure whether to sit on it or not, but then this happened. With 9 minutes left, Noble back out to Cresswell, ball in, cleared away. We're thinking, yes, let's go for this now. Mitroglou brings it away. What a useless pass that was. So frustrating. I thought that was our chance to make it 4-2 and just finish them off and turn a pretty shoddy looking first half into an absolutely excellent win at home, which we needed just to pull ourselves clear. Unfortunately, surprisingly, Carroll lost that header, and then we just had the usual 2 players on one, can't get near him. We keep winning the ball back and then eventually losing it. This highlight goes on for way too long. Julesgaard was sloppy, and Malfitano takes his touch, goes past his man, slips in Andy Carroll. The shot is saved and it falls to Matt Jarvis, who's able to convert. So frustrating. So irritating, because I really hoped we could get back on form at home in that game. Then we had our inevitable beating away at Arsenal. We tried, but there wasn't really much we could do in this game. It was never going to turn out to be a great performance from us. Ever. There was no way. Why is it not loading? There we go. Christ on a bike. Podolski got 2 goals. We managed to keep them at bay until half-time, but as you can see, 5 shots, 1 on target. We're never going to win that. No chance. The best we could hope for was a draw and then a replay. Never going to get it. Then, though, we had a little bit of an upturn in fortune. West Brom are 7th in the Premier League at the moment, bear in mind. They are having a brilliant season. And we capitalised on that a little bit today by taking advantage of the fact that maybe they thought they were better than they were, because we went straight out here. As you can see, Martin Odegaard getting on the score sheet twice in this game. Now, this game should have been it should have been 4-0, basically. The 2 goals they did score were just... It was terrible, really. Maybe 3-0 would have been more appropriate, because Gareth McCauley's own goal was very, very unlucky. But it still happened, and that's all you can really say about it. But Martin Odegaard, again, he's only just signed for us in January, and he's already got himself 2 goals in this game alone. I'm not sure how many goals he's got in the league so far. 5 league appearances, 5 league starts and 4 substitute appearances, and already 4 goals. This lad looks like he could be one very, very good player in the future. But we kind of already know that, hence the 4 stars there. Plus everybody's kind of talking about this guy in real life, which is why I was very surprised that we were able to pick him up for only £22,000. But we did get ourselves a win. And that's 4 points from 2 home games. Not great, but we did have another home game coming straight up after that, albeit against Spurs. Now, I really did not expect to get anything from this one. I was actually very shocked. This is probably one of our best performances of the season, because we were under the cosh quite a lot. Spurs had quite a few shots, but they were frustrated by us. Gorgon's goal, we hung on to it. We hung on for dear life. Caught them on the break near the end of the game, and Kostas Mitroglou managed to wrap things up for us with another goal. He's now, I think, our top league goal scorer, but it's hard to tell. We will show you that in a second as well. Now, the last game I'm going to show you the highlights of is this one against Liverpool. Liverpool are still down there. In fact, this result, losing at home to us, actually puts them back into the relegation zone again, but you'll see that in the league table in a sec. I'm just going to show you the highlights of this one first. Right, here we go. Basically, we dominated the game from start to finish, in most senses, basically. We had a couple of great chances before this even happened. Townsend down the wing, and basically this was Liverpool's first shot of the game. Balotelli, thump. Stekelenburg probably should have done better. And when we went behind here, I figured it's one of those situations where, yeah, Liverpool are struggling, but when we come to play them, they're just going to be same old Liverpool that are going to beat us. Because that's just how it happens in this game. No, Yulsgaard's ball in, and cleared away. But what a strike from Martin Odegaard, again. He's just so good. I'm so looking forward to what he turns into. Then, just before half-time, Draga's ball in, flicked on by Byrne, cost us Mitroglou, 2-1 Fulham. Unbelievable. I was very, very surprised when that went in. I couldn't believe we'd got ourselves in front here at Anfield. But things just got better in the second half. Yulsgaard's long throw, Parker brings it down, it sort of deflects into the path of McDonald Mariga, and it's 3-1 before you know it. And we could have had more goals in this game. Liverpool also had, I can't remember who it was. I think it was John Flanagan. Yeah, Flanagan was sent off, and then annoyingly Scott Parker got himself sent off in the 90th minute, which is really, really stupid of him. And so unnecessary. I actually took off McDonald Mariga because I thought he was going to get himself sent off. Parker then got 2 yellow cards and got himself sent off after that. Very irritating, but we won the game. And that's actually 3 straight league wins, which puts us up into 11th place. We are now 12 points clear of the relegation zone, so we're not in any danger of going down. We're slap bang in mid-table. The sort of potentially could catch up to Wigan and QPR, maybe. But it seems unlikely that we will do because of the goal difference that Wigan have got is amazing. They've had some huge wins, and I don't just mean that. I mean over small sides, but with big margins, and that's kind of the key. If we can hang on to 11th, or even go down as far as 13th, then we will still fulfil the season objectives. Right, sorry about that, we are back, and yeah, so that is the league table at the moment. We've managed to win 10 games, which isn't bad. I would consider us safe. Another win and we're basically as safe as you're ever going to be. 40 points. I'd like to see how many points we can pick up, basically. If we can get into the top 10, that'd be great, because it means we could exceed our season expectations by finishing in the top half. And I'd like to just try and outdo Wigan since we came up with them. Blackburn look like they're going to be heading straight back down, but Liverpool, my God, what a horrific season they have had. I think we should go look at the stats. That's not the one. That is not the right button. Here we go, Fulham, stats. Then we've also got youth intake, and talk about a new signing. So, most impressive performances. Don't know why they're counting. I'm guessing that's for other clubs. Trippier's still up there, though he has started missing some games now. Top goal scorer. Why has that started appearing now? Not our club. There we go. Right, Mitroglou. 10 goals now. Top goal scorer for the team. Top assists is Thomas Draga. He's probably the most consistent, but look at it. He has also got the most man of the matches, and he has picked up another one since. Top pass rating is probably still going to be Scott Parker. There can't be denying that. No, he's still just slightly better than McDonald Mariga, and he puts in a few more tackles. He's a slightly better player, but he also has picked up 13 yellow cards, but then both of them have, as have both of our fullbacks. There's a lot of yellow cards floating around that area. Average rating now, Draga has slowly just trickled past, which is kind of what we expected from him. So, that's where about that is. Now then, this is what you actually want to see. Youth intake time. I'm not sure. Yes, we can. Let's go have a look at our youth candidates. Really, really bloody disappointed. This is insane. I thought last year was a bum year because Fulham have a decent youth academy and we have been trying to improve it. It wasn't going to happen today. This year's youth intake has been pretty poor. John Cornwall is basically the only player that is going to be of any use to us. 15 years old. He's going to be an advanced playmaker because that's the style of system that we play. So he's going to basically be taught to play that role. I'm not sure how good he is for that at the moment, but then how good is anyone at 15 years old for the sort of system? I still can't remember his support or attack. I think it's support. He's still not bad. A little bit more on the technique and passing, creativity. He's not bad for it at this exact moment. He could do a job for some slightly smaller teams, and I think he could be an alright player. With the right training, he could be quite decent. It's still a bit disappointing though, because our youth academy is so good. But that's just one of those things that's going to happen. Let's see if we can find out anything more about him. Where's he from? Let's find out really useless information. He's from Southwark in London. Favourite personnel? I noticed, is there a Bettinelli here? Charlie Bettinelli. No relation to our assistant, surely. No. Okay, not our assistant. We have a member of the staff called Vic Bettinelli. We also have a goalkeeper called Marcus Bettinelli, so I'm not entirely sure. Maybe the name just seems to pop up more with regard to Fulham. Very odd. But that's just how it is. Now, there is one more thing I'd like to look at. We have looked at a few players. One I am interested in, though, is Vincent Aboubakar, because I think Mitroglou might be on his way out in the next couple of seasons. Maybe the end of next year. I'm not entirely sure. If we can get money for him in the summer, I might even consider a switch, him for this guy, because he's younger, and I think we could pick him up relatively cheap. Because I think he can play that deep-lying midfield role. Deep-lying forward role unbelievably. The only thing he's sort of lacking is his passing. That's one thing that I could really do with being slightly higher. Decisions and he's only 23 years old though. There's a lot of room for improvement, and as you can see, he's been smashing in the goals for Porto's B side in the Portuguese second division, so he's clearly got something about him, and I think he'd be perfect for us up front. But you'll find out more about that in the next episode. Now, the end of the next episode is basically going to be taking us up to the start of May, so it will be the Palace game. We've got some good games now. We've got Palace, Hull away, not bad. Then we have Southampton and Burnley at home, Sunderland and Villa away, as well as Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal in those last 3 games. We basically need to be where we need to be before the last 3 games of the season. It's a little bit like Norwich were in the Premier League last year in real life. They needed to be safe before they hit those last run of fixtures. They weren't, and this in the end is what got them relegated. We will not be. That's going to be one hell of a last episode of the season. You can expect that to be 3 straight defeats, although we do have 2 of them at home, so you never know what we could pull off. It's this next run of games where we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 winnable games, all in the league, all on Saturdays. Nice week in between each one, at least a week in between each one. In fact, there's a 2-week gap there, so we should be well rested for a lot of these games, which should just make it even better for us. I don't know how many points I'm expecting to take. We're at home to Palace. I'd like to see 3 points from that. Hull, I'd settle for a point away from home. It's 4 points. Southampton and Burnley, I'd like to see wins against both of those for 10. Sunderland and Villa, I'd settle for draws away. So if we could take 12 points from those 6 games, I would be happy. But I'd like to see maybe 14 points. Maybe. But anything less than 10 from those 6 games, I think would be pretty much unacceptable. We have a real chance to hit that top half of the table if we can hit the ground running in these games, and you will find out if that is exactly what we did or not in the next episode. If you like what you've seen, hit the like button. If you like it even more than that, hit the big old subscribe button. But until next time, bye bye.